Let's go!
Between April and June of this year, Nintendo managed to sell a measly 160,000 Wii U consoles worldwide. In Europe and Australia alone, Nintendo barely managed to sell 10,000 units. To put this further into context, 1.4 million Nintendo 3DSs were sold within the same time period. On a similar note, Sony sold 1.1 million PlayStation 3s, a console that is now 7 years old, and bizarrely, Nintendo themselves managed to shift 210,000 original Wiis, which, although not entirely unheard of this early on in a console's lifespan, is still a considerably larger figure than what its successor has managed to scrape in so far. After a disappointing E3 and a terrible first 6 months for the console, in which the only notable releases included a sequel to a GameCube game that never really captured the public's imagination 12 years ago, and certainly won't now, and a glorified DLC path for a launch title, it can be said with absolute certainty that things are not looking good for Nintendo's next-gen console. To put it simply, the Wii U is tanting harder than a Virtual Boy attachment for a Dreamcast, and the situation just keeps getting worse. It was revealed last week that 2 major UK supermarkets are effectively refusing to stock the Wii U and its software until it becomes financially viable for them to do so. Meanwhile, Wii U prices are being slashed by retailers left, right and centre in an effort to get sales moving again. Exactly the same tactic they pulled 10 years ago when the GameCube was selling about as well as a bin bar full of human organs. In fact, the similarities between the GameCube and the Wii U are scary. Both consoles struggle to capture the public's imagination compared to arguably more powerful platforms, and both believe that Wind Waker is going to come along and save them. The worst thing about all this is that the Wii U is actually a really good console. Despite the fact I've only turned mine on twice in the past 4 months doesn't mean I don't still believe it can be classed as a viable system. Like an 80s high-style comedy directed by John Hughes, I want to see the underdog come out on top, and with this in mind I've compiled this list of top 5 ways Nintendo can save the Wii U. So get out your pen and paper or whatever. It's time to talk changes. Number 5. Put GameCube games on it. It says a lot about the loyalty of Nintendo fans when they continue to buy games that were released over 2 decades ago over and over again with each new console release. Everyone has a fond memory of a Nintendo game, and with the initial launch of the Virtual Console on the Wii in late 2006, Nintendo proved that reselling old games in their original forms is how should I phrase this? A lucrative business opportunity. Although this was in no way the main reason behind the success of the original Wii, it was mainly due to your parents playing Wii Sports and then telling people down at the local wine tasting club how fun it was. Is that what parents do? Is that what parents do? It certainly helped. So with the Wii U's increased disk space, and internet connections now being stable enough to download larger files, it made sense for Nintendo to allow gamers to finally experience GameCube games again. Although not as fondly remembered as previous Nintendo consoles, I know for a fact that I play my Wii U far more often if I was given the opportunity to play titles like Luigi's Mansion and Metroid Prime again, but that's mainly because I just like throwing money at people for things I already own. Number 4. Make games people actually want to play. This one's obvious, but I feel like it needed to be on this list anyway. People will buy the Wii U for Nintendo games and for no other reason. Regardless of the strong third-party support the Wii U relished in for about 38 seconds after the console's launch, no one is going to buy it for third-party games. You want to play Call of Duty? You'll buy it on a system that is actually powerful enough to be considered next-gen from a technical standpoint, and not one that feels like the PlayStation 3 that you control with a Kindle. No, it's safe to say that people will buy the Wii U for top-quality Nintendo games, experiences no other console manufacturers are currently offering. Mario Kart and Smash Bros are a definite start, but Super Mario 3D World? Pikmin 3? Wii Fit U? Not so much. Nintendo seems to be struggling at the moment, and the long waits in between first-party titles are evidence of this fact, so I can appreciate the company relying on tried and tested ideas in an effort to stay relevant, but really? Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze? Do you even realise that Retro Games made Metroid Prime? Have you forgotten? Is it just too awkward to, raise your hand in the air, tell someone, we made, you remember Metroid? Yeah, we don't need to make another 2D based platformer. Yeah, we'd like to make... No? Okay. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. Nintendo made another Star Fox game, and a Metroid game, and a mind-blowingly good Zelda game, and fire the guy who said, hey, let's make the sequel to a handheld game as the forerunner to our already underperforming console, instead of coming up with an original and inventive idea like we did last generation, because that guy is an idiot and deserves to never work another day in his life. Number 3. Define a niche. At the moment, Nintendo and the press seem to be too focused on the Wii U's lack of third-party support, which is strange because Nintendo have a history of being shunned by most major publishers and developers alike. The Wii was famously ignored by the likes of Ubisoft and EA when it came to AAA blockbuster titles, but that hasn't stopped it from selling over 100 million units worldwide. The problem with the Wii U is that it just doesn't have anything going for it right now. The Wii U needs a niche, and I genuinely believe that Nintendo can achieve this in a matter of days if they wanted to. Why not make it a premium indie console? Indie games are, more often than not entirely system heavy, and I imagine the majority of indie devs would relish in the opportunity to make use of the plethora of features the Wii U Gamepad currently offers, if only Nintendo gave them a simple way of doing so. You only need to look at the likes of Johann Sebastian Joust to realise that indie developers really are coming up with some truly unique ideas when given the chance. If the indie idea doesn't work out for you, why not support the Oculus Rift? Yeah, it wouldn't really work with a Gamepad, but still, do you see what I'm getting at here? The best way of selling your console is to find a piece of the market that no one's tapped into yet and make it your own. You guys did it with the Wii, and I'm certain you can do it again with its successor. Oh, and you know, if you could get that Oculus Rift support, that would be amazing, because then we'd effectively have our own Nintendo Ons, and the thought of that just... oh man, it does things to me. Ooh. What? What am I doing? Number 2. Understand your system. Remember when the 3DS came out and everyone thought it was going to be the next Virtual Boy because you could only play Nintendogs on it and it was making everyone's eyes bleed? If you told me at the time that 2 years later the system would have sold over 32 million units worldwide and would offer some of the greatest Nintendo games in years, I'd have probably told you to shut up before pre-ordering a PS Vita. But it's true. The 3DS is a superb system that offers some truly sublime gaming experiences. From Animal Crossing New Leaf to Mario Kart 7, the 3DS worked so well for one ridiculously simple reason. Nintendo understands its appeal. You see, unlike the Wii U, the 3DS makes sense as a system. It's a handheld console designed for portable play. Although consumers initially thought the entire point of the console was the 3D screen, it soon became obvious after Nintendo released a few games that the real purpose of the system hasn't changed since the first Nintendo handheld, the Game Boy, was released in 1989. People play the 3DS for short periods of time, and its content strategy therefore reflects this. All of the games on the system are designed for short bursts of playtime, with titles such as Animal Crossing rewarding you for returning at multiple points throughout the day, rather than straight up playing it for 15 hours solid. Nintendo understands this fact so well that they're even able to release sequels to classic console games such as Luigi's Mansion 2 and adapt them to work within the context of portable play without damaging the overall experience. Regardless of what you say about Nintendo, they understand their handhelds, and the 3DS is absolutely no exception. The Wii U, on the other hand, is a completely different story. I mean, look at it. Just look at it. It's got a screen on its controller. The very concept of it is absolute madness. Unlike the Wii, which made sense as soon as you picked up the controller, the Wii U is difficult to describe. There's no pick up and play aspect about it whatsoever, and whilst Nintendo should be leading the way by releasing games that utilise the system's unique aspects in such a way that both attracts developers and sets the standards for them to follow, they seem to instead be just as confused as the rest of us. Here's a question for you. Nintendo revealed Mario Kart 8 at this year's E3, a game which is set to be one of the system's biggest games of next year. Can you please tell me what the Gamepad is used for? Do you give up? Here, I'll let a Nintendo representative tell you.
You've got the compass that you can bring up and it will show you the map and it will show you positions as well. And you also have a horn.
Other titles such as Super Mario 3D World offer comparatively terrible second screen features. If you ask me, Nintendo needs to sit down and really think about what it is it wants to do with the Wii U, because to me it seems like they haven't had a clue since they decided to put a screen in the middle of the controller. The Nintendo 64 brought classic Nintendo franchises into a 3D space. That's a clear purpose. The GameCube redefined every single Nintendo franchise into something unique and interesting. That's a clear purpose. The Wii gave a new and interesting way of interacting with games in general. That's a really clear purpose. The Wii U, I don't know, it lets me watch Netflix in bed. That's not really a clear purpose. If Nintendo want to stay relevant, they need to figure out what they want to do. I suggest that they adventure more into the online space, offering increased interactivity with all of their most famous franchises. Let's have a Dark Souls style Zelda, or an Animal Crossing MMO. Or why not do a GameCube and release darker, grittier versions of your flagship IPs? A Cyberpunk Zelda? Would that be so terrible? Probably, you're wrong. I think for Nintendo to stay in the game, they need to prove that they're willing to define a clear content strategy and stick with it. But I think they'll struggle coming up with a good way of reselling the Wii U unless they... Number 1. Drop the Gamepad. Whoa, hold on, just Stan, hear me out, please? I mean, come on, you've made it this far, so you must either really like my accent, which is a ridiculous presumption, or you're interested in what I have to say, so here it goes. The Wii U Gamepad is bollocks. Well, no, that's unfair to say. It's not fully bollocks when it's used properly. It's great, offering experiences you just can't get anywhere else, but when it's used badly, and let's be fair, it most often is, even by Nintendo themselves...
Then you also have a horn.
It's just a bulky controller with no real use. But hey, do you know what's really good? The Wii U Pro controller. It's really comfy, lightweight, and has about 1 million hours worth of battery charge in it. I love playing games with this controller, and I just wish Nintendo would support it more. So my top suggestion for Nintendo is to drop the Gamepad altogether. Seriously, just ditch it. All of its uses at the moment can be classed as optional anyway. So just make it an optional extra that people can buy. Instead, pop a Pro controller in the box and sell the Wii U for considerably less. Suddenly you have a console that makes more sense. A cheaper price tag makes it a more viable purchase for the everyday consumer, whilst the Pro controller is a far easier way of getting people to play your games. What Nintendo should never do, however, is give up. I hear countless people calling out for the company to do a Dreamcast and just call it a day, but that would be ridiculous. Nintendo aren't in any position to give up at the moment, and as Tessa McDonald explains perfectly in her article about this exact topic on IGN, Nintendo could weather a failure. It could weather several. It's a sentiment I couldn't agree more with. Nintendo have got a good console on their hands with the Wii U. I know they have. It's a great system with a lot of potential, and I just hope Nintendo get their act together and start to sort themselves out soon, because otherwise, maybe we will end up seeing Mario on the PlayStation 4. Hi guys, thanks for watching. You can subscribe for more videos like this by clicking on the little subscribe button below. You can like us on Facebook at Damonation or follow us on Twitter at DamonationFeed. If you have any feedback for this video, positive or negative, please leave a comment in the section below, and we will see you later on.